The GallowgateShots podcast is sponsored by Tyre Spot, the Northeast's leading tyre supplier with branches across the region. Tyre Spot don't just do tyres, they cover everything from servicing to wheel alignment. They can handle every aspect of your car's maintenance. For more information, visit tyrespot.co.uk. Enjoy the episode.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the GallowgateShots YouTube and podcast channel. We are back with another match preview. This one is one of two Chelsea previews. We're not going to do them both at the same time, although you could probably just watch this one twice, to be honest, but we will do another one for the next game. But this is for the League One. This is for the away game that's coming up at the weekend. I'm Scott, I'm your host for this one, and this week I'm joined by Nichol, I'm joined by Joe, and I'm joined by Daryl. Yeah, so I'm going to jump straight into this one because we've got two of these coming up in quick succession. We're playing Chelsea twice, one at home, one away. They should have just put them both in one of the two grounds to save the trips, but there we go. But yeah, Chelsea, it's on Sunday, 27th of October. It's a 2 p.m. kickoff. It's at Stamford Bridge. It's live on Sky, so if you're not making the trip down there, if you're waiting for the home game, then you can watch this one. I mean, you might not want to based on current performances, but there you go. They're not doing too badly. Sixth in the league on 14 points, 4 wins, 2 draws, 2 defeats. They've scored 17 goals. They've conceded 10, so that's on a +7 goal difference. And like always, I've got a few commentator stats before we get started with discussing the game that's coming up. So Chelsea have lost just one of their 29 Premier League home games against Newcastle. It's 21 wins and 7 draws. That one defeat was a 2-0 defeat back in May 2012.
Yeah.
Yes. Papi Cisse.
Yeah,
First goal's underrated, actually. First goal's really
First
underrated.
goal is very underrated. However,
banana shot.
Let's put a bit of a spin on this, a bit of a positive spin. Newcastle have won 2 of their last 4 Premier League games against Chelsea. I'm guessing they were both home based on the last stat. There was 1 draw in that, and then obviously 1 defeat. And that's as many as they had in their previous 13, with 1 draw and 10 defeats. So, you know, we've turned it around in recent times. Chelsea's last 3 Premier League defeats have come against last season's top 3 sides. That was a 5-0 defeat against Arsenal, a 2-0 defeat against Man City, and then just recently this weekend was a 2-1 defeat at Liverpool. Chelsea are unbeaten in 19 games against all other teams. That's 13 wins and 6 draws, and they've scored 54 goals across those matches. So that positivity maybe hasn't lasted too long, but there we go. They're not doing too badly against sides outside of the top 3 from last season. And so finally, no, I've got 2 more. After winning 3 of their first 4 Premier League games this season with 1 draw, Newcastle have since failed to win the last 4. It's 2 draws and 2 defeats. We all know about that. We last went 5 league games without winning in March 2023. And then finally, bit of a wild card stat, but here we go. Chelsea is named the youngest average starting 11 in the Premier League this season at just 23 years and 220 days. The oldest player is aged just 27. They are the only Premier League team in history to get 8 games into a season without using any player over the age of 27. So there you go. These commentator stats are completely random, but they are the sort of things you would hear good old Clive Tilsley and all the other commentators speak during the game, and that's why we do them. Just so if you hear them, you can go, I heard that on GallowgateShots. They know their stuff. So there you go. Boys, Chelsea. Are we confident? Joe, are you confident?
Yeah, why not, man? Yeah, listen, they may be doing all right. They may be scoring a few goals, but it's fine.
However, Joe,
it's fine. Yeah,
No.
Listen, I mean, obviously, there's reason to be concerned. They're doing well. They're conceding a lot of goals as well. Their goal difference is worse than ours, believe it or not. Only by 1, mind, but it's still worse. They've been pretty consistent with the starting 11 for the most part. They've had a few changes here and there, but given the fact that their squad is about 75 players deep, that's doing pretty well. They're playing tomorrow.
They are.
away, isn't it, Scott? Is it
Yep.
away? Yeah. So,
Panathinaikos, they're off to
aye,
Greece. Although, yeah, so I'm going to touch on that. They're going to Greece. Well, they're going to Greece now. Obviously, they play tomorrow. I doubt they're going to fly tomorrow. So we're recording this on the Wednesday. Tomorrow's the Thursday, in case you're listening on Friday. But Marcus Bettinelli, Ben Chilwell, Wesley Fofana, Romeo Lavia, Cole Palmer, Levi Colwell, Moises Caicedo, Nicholas Jackson, Reece James, Malo Gusto. None of those players have got on the plane. They're all staying in England. You've got
you probably
pretty
have to
much
hire 2 or 3 different jets, wouldn't you, just to send them all out? It's probably more of an emissions
their
thing.
carbon footprint will be the size of Bigfoot.
You got to get that
to
below a
begin
certain
with.
threshold.
But yeah, I mean, it's not like they're going to be fatigued at all. I mean, they have took some players. To be fair to them,
I hope so. I hope they're taking.
You've got the like of Enzo Fernando, and the goalkeeper's gone, and there's some other players. But
yeah, exactly. But listen, I mean, obviously they've got a big squad. They've got a deep squad. They're doing pretty well this season. But like I say, I think. I do think that they're there to be gotten, and I do have to say, and I think I said this in the Brighton reaction, that we do tend to play better against sides who do have a bit more of the ball. We still have that counter-attacking sort of flair about us. We're sort of against Man City. Like, I don't want us to be sort of clouded by the likes of, the Brighton game, maybe the Everton game, where we dominated that possession, but we just couldn't get the ball in the back of the net. It's going to be a completely different style of game. So I don't think we should go into this really downbeat and thinking, it's going to be the same old performance. We're not going to be able to do anything. We've got good players. We're a good counter-attacking side. So there is definitely room for optimism. We'll see how long that lasts by the end of this video, but we can start on a high.
Well, we've got one thing going forward that we didn't have last season, Nichol, and that is Lewis Hall. We can use him this season. He's no longer on loan. He is now an official Newcastle United player. So we can use him against Chelsea this season. So that's a bonus.
Yes, yeah, there's a bonus. I do think he might be used, or I might use him in a slightly different way for this game, mind, because I was going to go on to say that I think we may go to a back 5 on Sunday with Lloyd Kelly coming in the centre-back position, left centre-back. Either that, or I actually don't think Lewis Hall will play, and I think Lloyd Kelly will play at left-back. But I would probably go with the back 5. But yeah, he can play this year. Obviously, he couldn't last year, return to his old club. And he's done okay this season. I'm still not 100% convinced on him defensively, but he's still a young player learning the way that we play and everything. So yeah, he's done okay this season, and it'll be nice to see him go back to his old club for the first time.
It will be. I mean, just to turn it back on Chelsea a little bit, Daryl, before we focus all our attention on Newcastle. It's took them a couple of seasons, but you're kind of seeing the Chelsea, not the Chelsea of old in terms of the style of play, but they're getting back up there, aren't they? They're getting the results against the teams that you'd expect them to get the results. I mean, we saw in what I read out in this commentator stats, right? They're only losing against the top 3 sides. They're beating everybody else. That's kind of where you expect Chelsea to be. They're one of the big 6, if that's, that's still a thing anymore. But it's took them a few managers. It's took them a hell of a lot of players, but it's starting to click a little bit for Chelsea, you're feeling, and they're starting to get back into that groove.
Yeah, it's a bit weird because there was a bit of a regression, and I think we could probably agree that last season was probably the depths of that regression. Like they were very inconsistent last season in particular. There was all sorts of turmoil on and off the field. The performances on the pitch were just absolute chaos. A lot of the games that they just did not turn up in. There was, any Chelsea fans watching us talk about this right now will understand exactly where we're coming from. And they were going into games and they were getting turned over by teams that really, no disrespect to anybody else in the league, but they were getting turned over by teams that they had no right to be getting turned over by, given the position that they were coming from. But I think it's weird because normally you see teams fall off a cliff. Chelsea seems to have done it the opposite way around.
Stumbled.
So they've slowly gotten worse, and now they've suddenly clicked into gear this year, and they've gone straight back up there. And there's a lot of elements of their team that frighten me as a little Newcastle fan here, watching games and knowing how we are and our strengths and our weaknesses. And I think I remember when we played them in the SummerSlam Super Series Survivor Series Showdown in America last pre-season. That the pace that they showed in that pre-season tournament absolutely frightened the life out of me, and I was having kittens about what would happen when we played them in the league in the season. But like I say, as things went on, they were so inconsistently bad during that season that we were able to get a win at St James's, quite a healthy win at St James's Park.
It was, yeah.
And then by the time we went down to Stamford Bridge, they had sort of picked up a little bit. And it was, the result flattered us in the end down at Stamford Bridge because it was 3-2 in the end. And that was only because Jacob Murphy scored an absolute screamer in the last minute of the game. A game that I was there for, and we were absolutely hopeless for most of that game. But yeah, so this season they have seemed to have really picked up back into form. And, you know, you've mentioned their managers and personnel, and they've really backed the manager with some more signings that if they needed any more, they've got them. And again, changing the manager with a new philosophy, new style, and it's really suiting Cole Palmer this season, who's been a massive danger man for them. I'm worried about what he may do to us, especially with our not so very quick back line. Certainly in the heart of it anyway.
Yeah. And that is the worry, Joe, isn't it? I mean, obviously he's the, I don't see he's the star player because he's only, what, 19, 20? I don't even know how old he is, but he's not the, you know, well, I mean, to be fair, they're all 23 according to the stats that we put up before. So, you know, it's a young squad, but he's obviously the standout character in that squad. He seems to be the one that the whole game runs through. You know, from the attacking side of things, he's the set piece taker. I think he takes the penalties. He's the big threat. He's the one you've got to try and nullify. And unfortunately, I think with the pace we have in the defense, I don't know how we're gonna do it.
He's not the only one.
Tough ask.
He's not the only one. The goal's been shared out quite a lot recently. You've got Madueke, who's done very well. Nicholas Jackson seems to be pretty consistent now. He seems to, you know, he's been a regular starter. I think he got 2 goals against West Ham recently. And you know, you got players off the bench like you know, like Sancho and Mudryk and all that who've got pace. You know, these lads can come on and do damage, and we've seen it in the past. So yeah, it does have some slight cause for concern. I mean, with Cole Palmer, like, you've really got to look at that and think, well, hey, that's a Bruno man marking job, isn't it? And that really lends to the idea that he's got to be quite disciplined. Now, can Bruno be disciplined? I don't know. It might be that he hangs back a little bit and allows Joe Linton and Tonali to push forward a bit more, but we've never really seen that. So you've got to be careful. Like you say, if they go on a counter attack against the likes of Dan Burn and Cher, I mean, for God's sake, bloody 45-year-old Danny Welbeck managed to outdo him for pace and score. So God knows what a 12-year-old Cole Palmer's going to be able to do. I mean, maybe not 12. His legs would still be growing at 12.
I think he's still growing now. Looking at him. Chippy chips.
But he's going to be he's going to be tough to keep him quiet. I think everyone expected him not to have a major drop off this season, but not replicate the absolute wonders that he did last season. But he just seems to be still going. So we've got to be careful, man. Got to be careful. Interesting, Nichol's suggestion about potentially putting Kelly in there as a left back and
back five,
either a back 5 or reverting to what we used to do back a couple of years ago, where Dan Burn would slot in as almost a third centre back and allow Trippier, now Tino, to bomb up. It could work like that. God, who knows? Yeah, good luck.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously we're talking a bit about Chelsea's pace, but we've got a bit of pace ourselves up front. I mean, you know, we can't discredit ourselves. And, you know, one of our players who has got a bit of pace and has got a bit about him is Mr. Anthony Gordon. He signed a new contract, Nichol.
Yep.
That can sometimes be a blessing. It can sometimes be a curse. Sometimes the players perform out their skin after they've got a new contract. Sometimes they have the worst run you'll see. Hopefully it's the, we see the best of Gordon, because you'd like to think maybe he's had a bit of a dodgy run running up to this and then he's going to progress through, but we'll see what happens. But you'd like to think now he's got it. And given the interviews he's given, that video the club put out the other day or last night, whenever it was, of a day in the life of Anthony Gordon, he's talking a lot about wanting to give back to the fans of, how we've welcomed him. there's no better time to do it. The fact that we can't score a goal at the minute than to bag a hat-trick against Chelsea on Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. I think he said in the videos that he's known that this is going to happen for a while. So I think the fact that it's now been, made public knowledge is probably a nice sort of, I would say, relief for him, because he's probably had to keep it quiet. And obviously not a lot of people outside the club would know about it. So yeah, hopefully it gives him a boost on Sunday. And then he spoke a lot in the interviews about wanting to win a trophy for the club as well. So you'd like to think he's going to be motivated for next Wednesday as well, when we meet them in the cup. Hopefully he has a good week, and we can definitely use his pace this weekend, because as Joe said before, it's going to be a bit of a different kind of game. We're not going to have as much as the ball, so when we do have the ball, we need to get it to our danger players, which is Isak and Gordon at the top end of the pitch, Barnes if he's playing, and then hurt them from there.
Yeah, Daryl, it's another conundrum that it's been a good talk on social media. Well, I'll say a good talk. It's been the talk of social media about the left-hand side, and whether it's Harvey Barnes or whether it's Jacob Murphy or Miggy, or you switch and you put Barnes on the right and Gordon on the left. And I see you've switched your calendar finally, so he's no longer on your wall, Harvey Barnes. So where do you pick? How do you do? What do you do there? Are you of the opinion that it should be Gordon and Barnes at start? Are you House Murphy? Are you House Miggy? What do you do?
Well, for me, it's all going to depend on the system. If we go with a back four, then it'll leave you three up top. But if we go with a back five, I can't see it being at a front three. I really can't. And I think it'll be a case of probably Isak and Gordon managing the workload up front as part of a system with a back five in it. And then we'll keep the three in midfield because they can do that engine work. And Tonali's not afraid to get up and down the pitch. Joe Linton, we know, can do it, and Bruno, if required, can also do that and fill that role. I think if we stick to our traditions, as we can probably call them, and go with the 4-3-3, for me, I think in this particular game, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to say that I would play Miggy on the right, Gordon on the left, and use Barnes as the impact sub on the left-hand side if we need to either switch Gordon or Isak, or take Miggy off if he's tired or whatever. Because I just think, and we know how much stick Miggy gets, and we know his limitations. He's not a world beater. But he's got pace. He's got lightning pace, and this is the sort of game where it could very easily transition into a basketball game. And we're gonna need the legs of those front men with pace to be able to match what Chelsea will do to us. And it's the only outlet really that we have in that kind of situation, and even against Chelsea, really, because as everything we've already said up to this point, they will hurt us with pace. So we have to use our best pace to hurt them. And for me, I just don't quite see it in Murphy to have that effect. Certainly when you compare him to Miggy, and we know that Barnes favours coming in from the left where Gordon plays. So it's always going to be a toss-up between them two from the start for me. I would go with that. I would, depending on the situation, if it's a back five, it'll be Gordon and Isak. If it's going to be our traditional 4-3-3, it's going to have to be Gordon and Miggy for me, alongside Isak.
Is the argument with Miggy, Joe, that you're going to then need a central midfielder to be up there with him? Because he can't whip a ball in. He can't play a crossing, unfortunately. We know Miggy's limitations were there. He's going to need someone up there with him, and you need Isak in the box. Isak can't be dropping deep to receive that ball and then play 1-2s with Miggy. So then you're going to leave gaps. At least if it's Murphy can whip a ball in.
Right, yeah.
If it's Barnes, if it's Gordon, they can maybe take on a man. You feel with Miggy, he's going to get the ball up the field, but then you're going to need Sandro, you're going to need Joe Linton, you're going to need Joe Willock even.
Wait, I mean, you're right. If you go with Miggy,
it's a tough one though.
If you go with Miggy, you can't ask Sandro to go. Sandro likes me, mate. Tonight can't go up in support and stuff. We saw it at the Forest game where he was really direct. He was going forward and he was making those quite direct runs. And I thought, oh, cracking, we've got another lad who's got an engine on him, but it's really, is great at passing the ball through balls, all this kind of stuff. Spot on. Thing is, though, I feel like when Howe's looked at needing pace on the counter attack, he's generally always preferred Murphy, which I can understand because, like you say, he's a traditional winger. He's going to just bomb straight forward. He's going to whip in a few balls. He's not going to try to cut back. It's going to be a counter-attacking thing where you just want to get in the ball in the box as quickly as possible. I do think, and I'm thinking back to the Spurs game, I know it was at home, but correct me if I'm wrong here, but he had that front three of Barnes, Gordon, and Isak, didn't he? To start with. Correct me if I'm wrong here before I go on this tangent and totally mess it up. But he did that, and knowing that would probably not have as much of the ball, and then relied on the likes of Murphy to come on later on in the game. So you might look at that and go, well, you know, this experiment that I'm trying with the Barnes and the Gordon interplay between the two wings. Okay, it didn't quite come off then, but maybe it's worth having another shot at it now. We're struggling in front of goal. Typically, I'm going to have to go this side while Dasmo sorts himself out. Barnes is one of our top goal scorers this season, if not our top goal scorer. He must be pretty close. And so I just think the temptation to start top Barnes might be too much for him, and he might look at it and go that front three on paper are almost potent and clinical finishes. We might just have to do that and just try and get it to work, especially if we go with a back four. I just can't see him starting Miggy. I mean, we've seen it with Osula how, well, many other players, to be fair, how strict Howe can be with giving players minutes and momentum within the side. Miggy's barely played. He's played cup games. He's had a couple of sub appearances, but it's not in Howe's nature just to go, you know what, Chelsea away, spot on. I'm just going to, throw you in and you're going to solve all our issues, especially with Trippier out. Miggy's purple patch came with that beautiful combination with Bruno and Trippier, and
the triangle,
the triangle that end all triangles. And I just don't think he's probably gonna look to Miggy do the same thing again. So I would, if I look at throw my hat in the ring, I would say Barnes, Gordon, and Isak would start.
Yeah, and I suppose that's the other question about Isak as well. Obviously, Nichol was very rusty at the weekend just gone. I think we all agree with that, and missed a couple of sitters. You'd expect that rust to be well and truly gone. I think he would make sure that for this game. He was coming back from an injury, but as far as we're aware, and we say this every week, but we're doing this before Eddie Howe's press conference, Wilson is still nowhere near match fit. I think he said he's a couple of weeks away still. For whatever reason, Osula's not getting anything more than injury time.
Yeah,
that's all he's getting. He might get a run out in the cup game. We'll do that in the other preview if we do one.
Spoilers.
Yeah, spoilers. Well, no, yeah. If you watch this one back, Osula's playing. No, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're taking for granted that Isak's going to be starting, but we're probably it's our only choice, right?
Yeah, you're definitely right about him being rusty on Saturday, because he obviously missed a couple of chances that you'd expect a striker with his quality to be putting away. Especially the one-on-one, I expected to go around the goalkeeper, but he just hit it straight at him. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call them sitters, but I think for a player of his quality, you would expect him to do better, is what I'll say, and score with them.
Yeah.
So yeah, hopefully that rust's gone by Sunday, and yeah, Wilson's just it's frustrating, isn't it? The club put some pictures on today on Twitter about the men training. He wasn't in the pictures, I don't think. Again,
he was spotted in the Anthony Gordon the day in the life thing. He was on the bike
in the gym.
So nobody wasn't. I hope he wasn't straining himself too much.
Yeah,
he must have got a twinge.
Video. You don't know how long ago that was, because they released the clips of him with that little lassie.
That was probably
ago.
a couple of months ago, yeah.
And that was the morning. That was the afternoon, and the training was in the morning. So that was weeks ago when he's got Wilson on the bike. So who knows what's happening to Callum Wilson?
And obviously, Osula, he, as you say, he's not getting anything more than injury time, which I'm sure he's frustrated about. And I think some of the fan base is probably frustrated about, because Isak, it was clear on Saturday by about 60 minutes he was done. He hasn't been in a lot of games this season, if I'm honest. This is not a slight on Isak. He's still one of our best players, if not the best. But some of the games he just hasn't been in them, and that's not always his fault, I would say. but you know, I want to have a mind of why not change it up a little bit sometimes. You know, that
I mean,
Osula got the cup game, but you know, he wasn't getting the balls through. So yeah, it just gives defenders something different to think about maybe for the last 30, 20 minutes. We're not asking for him to start, but maybe chuck him on for longer than injury time, please, Eddie.
I was just going to say the same thing, because against Bournemouth and Brighton, he was chasing the last man and really pressuring them. And like you say, Isak was blown out of his arse after like 60 minutes. Why not keep them both on, but allow Osula to do the sort of dirty work and conserve Isak's energy a bit, and obviously, draw a centre back away to give him a bit more space to run onto.
Yeah.
You know,
Just
hopefully
got
it's a one-on-one
got a
chance.
hell of a lot of pace.
Yeah.
He's got pace, and
I mean,
he's not a Riviere man.
we need someone on the right. Isak can play on the right. I think I remember it was at Palace last season or the 2 seasons ago. He played on the right and
He
absolutely
can
had
play
the
on the
life.
side. He can play on the side.
Yeah,
He's
had the
gifted
life
for
on that side. It was in the cup, if I remember rightly.
Mm.
Anyways, I think that's enough. Let's talk about the man in the middle, Daryl. Ref watch. I hope it's a better performance than last week, because that referee was honking. Who have we got this
honestly.
week, Daryl?
So, Joe needs to take notes here. So we've got Simon Hooper from Wiltshire. Simon Hooper, who has no hair.
Oh,
That's
so you have no windows if you performed like Hooper last week.
Daryl, quickly, what would you class the hairpiece of the ref last week? Is that, because that's a halfway house? That is really close to being.
He had a peninsula, didn't he?
A
right old peninsula.
I look like where I live. Full Wirral.
Too right. Yeah, so Simon Hooper in the middle for this one. It's his first Newcastle game of this season. The last time we saw him in the middle of a Newcastle United game was in the 4-2 win down at Brentford on the last day of last season. And he also took charge, and this is the one for the little people who have, what's the word we're looking for? The superstitions and things like that. He was also in charge of last season's 4-1 win at home to Chelsea. So there's a little bit of history.
You just changed my prediction, Daryl.
So there's a little bit of history with him in this fixture. His record for last season, since this is his first game that he's doing with us this season, I'll briefly mention his record for the whole of last season. He did 25 games last season. He dished out 116 yellows and issued 3 reds. He was the joint second most games with Paul Tierney on 25, and they were both 2 games behind Anthony Taylor, who did 27 games last season. And this season, he's done 4 games so far, and he's dished out 21 yellows and 1 red.
There you have it.
Oh, and the VAR is Chris Kavanagh. Before I forget.
There you go.
Good old Chris.
Well, there you have it. There is your man in the middle and your man on the screen. Oh, well, he's not on the screen. Looking at the screens for the weekend. Let's come to our predictions. I'm going to go first this week because I normally put people on the
spicy.
spot. I mean, it's not going to be good. Unfortunately, I do think we're going to get beat. Sorry for starting with the downer, but I think, given my history down at the bridge, I think I don't think it'll be a bad defeat. I think it's going to be a good game, good one for the neutrals, as they say. But I'm going to go for a 2-1 defeat. I think we'll get a goal, so there's a positive. I mean, I know that sounds awful, but it's something we've been lacking of late. I think it's going to be 2-1. I think we go 2-0 down pretty early on, and I think we get control of the game, and I think we'll come away from it thinking we should have got a point. It's going to be one of them. So yeah, I think 2-1 defeat. And I'm going to go. I think Gordon will get a goal to kind of cement, or not cement his new contract, but to sign off his new contract with a goal. Unfortunately, it won't be a win. And hope he does a little cartwheel for that little lassie when he scores. Although, don't break your legs or whatever it is. I don't know. Just keep it simple, Anthony. Daryl, we'll come back to you, mate. What's your prediction going to be?
Well, I'm not too hopeful on this one either, to be fair. And I think it's going to be a 3-1 defeat. I do fancy us to just get a shock start and maybe nick the first goal. But I think it'll be a classic case of us poking a hornet's nest, and then it'll just come back and absolutely bite with Chelsea to come back and take it 3-1. I would go with 2 goals for Cole Palmer, and I think probably Nicholas Jackson will probably get the score sheet as well.
You're not going to pick a Newcastle scorer.
Gordon for the sake of it. Yeah, let's have him for his contract. He'll nick in there with the first goal.
Okay. Joe.
My head's saying 3-1 defeat and all, but just for a laugh, just to keep us upbeat, I'm going to say 3-3.
Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus, I don't know if I can take
3-3, yeah, we'll
3-3,
go.
mind. Yeah,
A classic 3-3. I'll go. Right, I'll say scorers. Madueke and Jackson. Jackson gets 2 for them. I'll say Barnes gets 2 for us, and Isak gets the 3rd, or whatever order that comes in. I'm not going to push my luck too much. I've already said a 3-3 draw, so you know.
All right. Mr. Meg.
I'll tell you the lottery numbers next
Yeah,
week
me.
if it comes out.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Get the lottery numbers
Nichol,
off you.
mate. What
Okay,
you,
I'm gonna try
you
and keep
going?
upbeat. Come on, right. Head. Okay, sensible prediction: 2-0 Chelsea. Sancho and Palmer, and like you said, Scott, not a bad defeat, but you know we still lose. Because I'm going, and because I'm going to be upbeat, we're going to win 2-1. Anthony Gordon's going to get 1. Sandro's going to score, and then Palmer's going to score for them.
Friend of the podcast, Sandro. Yeah, like it.
Yeah,
We're gonna
Sandro.
have to-
War Sandro.
There we are. Well, there you go then. That's our predictions. Let us know in the comments below what you think your prediction will be. If you're a Chelsea fan watching this, let us know how you think the game's going to go. Let us know what you think your prediction is going to be. And yeah, if you want to let us know how you think this has gone, let us know in the comments below as well. We embrace all interaction on this video. While you're down there, hit the thumbs up if you've liked it, hit the thumbs down if you haven't, and if you want to subscribe, hit that subscribe button, and more of our videos will show in your feed on YouTube. Yeah, if you want to go one step further, we do have a membership program. It's $2.99 a month. That gets you early access to videos like this one right here, as well as early and exclusive access to videos and podcasts as well. Boys, I don't know if I'm looking forward to this one. I don't think I am, but there we go. It's Sunday. We'll see what happens. Yeah.
Listen,
we'll be back though.
If we lose on Sunday, we've got another crack at it on Wednesday, so it's fine.
Yeah, we're going to have another try on Wednesday. And we will be back on Sunday for another match preview for the Chelsea game. That sounds really weird because this is the one, but it's for the cup.
You know.
So maybe they'll play another 11 that they've got in their 75-man squad that they can maybe pick out. They'll rotate, and we'll see what happens then. But we'll come back for that one. There'll also obviously be a reaction to this video, as well as other videos coming up on the channel. But for us, that's it for this one. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks everybody for watching. Ta-da.